Well, hello again, and again, and again, and again. This is the Midnight Skeptic, and this will go out on the airways on KPCA.FM worldwide and at 103.3 FM, KPCALP locally. This coming Sunday, the 5th, at 9 p.m., the usual time. Okay, and I'm recording this on May 2nd, which is a Thursday. That's today. And it's about 10 minutes after 4 right now. So, what's going on in the world through the eyes of the Midnight Skeptic? Okay, the mental health benefits of ranting in a recurring time slot on an FM radio station is unmeasurable. I've been doing it now for 7 years, and my mental health is very nice. Thank you very much. Okay. Thank you, Petaluma Community Access, KPCA LP, 103.3 FM, and Rob Tomaszewski, the station manager, for putting up with my rants since the station was started 7 years ago. It's been a long, strange journey. I'm the longest serving KPCA personality, if you can even apply that word here. I've got a personality? What? Okay. Since the initial broadcast 7 years ago. My goals have not changed, which are, to wit, to rid this country of all Republicans, conservatives, and especially MAGA heads and followers of the orange sociopathic bloat bag. And you know who I'm talking about. And to return governance of this country back to intelligent, progressive, caring political leaders. And I'm doing this in my own small way, one broadcast at a time. Okay, shout outs. Nariman, Art Kuznets. Okay, now, Project Censored. Mickey Huff and his two other cohorts, Nolan Higdon and Andy Lee Roth, are the guiding lights, so to speak, of Project Censored now. And they come out once a year with a new book, The State of the Free Press, 2000 and whatever. And I think the latest one is 2023. They'll be coming out with 2024 fairly soon, toward the end of the year, I would imagine. And go to their website, projectcensored.com, and sign up for their newsletter. It's free, although they'll ask for donations. And it's quite informative and, dare I say, opinionated. Okay. Tom Gaffey at the Phoenix. I give him a shout out every broadcast because he is sort of the kindly uncle to a lot of alternative teens that hang out at the Phoenix Theater. And there are no more seats down below on the main floor. They've been replaced with skateboard ramps. Okay, and they are well used by the alternative teens after school and sometimes on weekends. Okay, where was I? Okay, again, locally, John Crowley at the Aquas Cafe. Go on their website and see what their schedule of meetings is. They favor nonprofits and art collective and once every month or a couple of months, they have drinks with shrinks. And all of the local therapists come out of the woodwork and schmooze and sip their cocktails and beers and, well, they schmooze. Okay. Locally, Tim Conrad, an extraordinarily good photographer. Tom and Nancy, Kevin and Lori, Dave and Rosita, Rich and Kathy over in Sebastopol, Dennis and Megan in Tiburon, Yvonne and Rick in San Francisco, Aunt Jackie and her two daughters, Samantha and Melanie. Down in Arizona, my brother Brandon and his wife Mina, their daughter Andrea and her husband Tim, and their 3 little ones who are growing up quite rapidly. Thank you very much. You know, you guys, if you stop feeding them, they won't grow. All right. Arkansas. Oh, geez. You know, I haven't written this down any further than it is. So I'm having a brain freeze. Let me look it up. Oh, man. Big mistake not to write things down. Oh, I've already forgotten the animal control officer in Patagonia, Arizona, Karina Hilliard, and Shannon Reed in Arkansas in real estate, and she's restarted a massage therapy practice. She was a massage therapist here at the Sonoma Mission Inn and Spa. They're just right over the hills from Petaluma here. Okay, I had a massage from her once about 2 years ago. This lady knows what she's doing. For all of you Arkansasians, I guess that's the right term, who are listening to this, and I don't imagine it's all that many. Okay. Up the coast to the Raleigh-Durham, North Carolina, Dr. Dave Rubin, the world's finest pulmonary physician who is retired now and is, I won't use the word dabbling, but he does artwork. And go to his website, daverubinpainting.com, I think. Okay? And he, as I've said before, has quite a unique take on reality, such as it is. Up the coast a ways to Long Island, Geraldine Goldfinger. Now, back to the West Coast, the Sonora crowd, Robert Finnegan, Robert Fisher, and his wife Sandy, and his 2 children, Brad and Martha, Darrell Larson, Judy May, Kathy Francis, and Lynn Quayle. And up in Twain Hart, John Gleason and his 2 daughters, they're in their 40s. Jennifer and, oh God, brain freeze. You know, I hate brain freezes, and that'll teach me to write these things down. Tiffany, that's her name. Things always pop back into my head. Okay, and all the way down in Mexico City, Rosie Lopez Negrete. Did I trill my R sufficiently? Negrete. Okay. R and double R are 2 separate letters in the Spanish alphabet. Okay. So that concludes the shout-outs. And I've promised my many, many, many listeners and YouTube watchers that I will start every broadcast by good news, with good news. Okay. And we have some good news from Arizona, no less. I've labeled this Good Arizona News. Arizona Governor Katie Hobbs vetoed two MAGA-head GOP education bills. And education, I put in quotes. Senate Bill 1151 would have allowed the 10 commandments to be displayed and read in classrooms. Not required, but allowed, which will satisfy the Christian fundamentalists, Christian nationalists on the teaching staff. I hope that when a teacher applies to a school district or somewhere within the state and doesn't reveal that they are Christian nationalists, I hope that they will get shown the door. Okay? Let's see. And then Senate Bill 1097 would have required party designations by names for school boards, an R and a D by their name. MAGA heads don't want this because voters in school board elections should know that ones that have an R by their name are not really for education. They are for Christian indoctrination. Christians are sneaky that way. Okay. School boards are seen by Christian nationalists as a front in the ongoing war for Jesus, to save more souls for Jesus. And that is their purpose in life. Okay? And one of the things that they want to do via the GOP Republican Party is to work to destroy public education by means of building up religion in schools and turn them into places for religious indoctrination. And then MAGA heads complain that schools indoctrinate students. Well, they want to indoctrinate students to their way of thinking. Indoctrination, or indoctrinate, is a verb transitive that needs some form of object in the sentence. So you can't just say indoctrinate. You got to say indoctrinate into something, or indoctrinate. Well, I can't think of another example, but you need to know what they want to indoctrinate our kids into: a certain way of thinking, or a certain political party, a certain religious faith, or something like that. Okay, enough of that. Good regulatory news. The Bureau of Land Management will force oil and gas companies to set aside more money to guarantee that they plug up oil wells when they're done with them, when they've sucked all the oil out of them that they can. They don't just, so that they don't just walk away. There are about, if you can believe this, 90,000 wells just on federal land. They're called orphan wells, and they need to be cleaned up and plugged. before the oil and gas companies just walk away from them and let the remaining seeping fumes and gases leak out into our atmosphere. And it costs money to plug these wells sufficiently well. And they don't want to spend money, they just want to make profits. So the Bureau of Land Management is requiring oil and gas companies with spent wells on federal lands to plug them up when they're done with them, okay? Or when the wells have played out. Okay, this is a good news thing. Al Gore quote, "Yes, he's still around, and yes, this country would have been much, much better off if Al Gore would have won the presidential election when he was running." And I think it was the 2000 election that was decided by the Supreme Court. They forced Florida to stop the counting of ballots. I don't know if you guys are old enough out there to remember the ballot counters looking very carefully at ballots for hanging chads, trying to determine what the voter or who the voter really wanted to vote for back in the 2000 election in Florida. And the Republicans banging at the door trying to stop the count. And, well, the Supreme Court sided with the stop the count Republicans. And so George W. Bush won by, a couple of hundred votes. And I really, really believe that if all the votes could have been counted, that Al Gore would have emerged as the winner. And oh, how this country would be much, much better if that would have happened. I need a sip of water here. Okay, I was going to read an Al Gore quote here, and I got off on a different track, as usual. Quote, "The opposition of the fossil fuel companies is a huge obstacle to progress solving the climate crisis. One of our two major political parties is now a wholly owned subsidiary of the fossil fuel industry. 1 month after the final COP28 document was issued, the API, the American Petroleum Institute, began a campaign to convince the public that it was impossible to transition away from fossil fuels. Well, the Midnight Skeptic is not saying it would be easy, but the fossil fuel industry is wrong in saying that it is impossible to transition away from fossil fuels. The only thing that would really be hurt is their bottom line, their profits, their shareholders, their CEO Christmas bonuses. Deep breath. Okay, good news. In West Africa, there's a grain that's older than the wheel, but it could be the future of food. It can grow in poor soils, resist drought, and can provide income for farmers on small plots of land. It tastes great and has health benefits. Fonio, Fonio, or as it's sometimes called, Findi, Findi, or Acha, Acha. And the scientific name of this grain is Digitaria excellis. Okay, capital Digitaria. Second word, Exilis. Digitaria excellis. It's a cultivated grass in West Africa. It is nutritious and one of the world's fastest growing cereals, maturing in as little as 6 to 8 weeks. It is used in porridge and couscous, bread, and for brewing beer. Fonio is an ancient African crop. The cultivation of it started about 7,000 years ago, which is 5,000 before the current era. It was derived from the wild species Digitaria longiflora. I'm not going to spell that one for you guys. Look it up. Google it. It thrives in semi-arid areas with poor soils. Yield acreage is 1 ton per hectare, which is 500 kilograms in poorer conditions. Okay? That, if it were encouraged, if the growth of it were encouraged, if the farming of it were more encouraged, it could be the answer to a lot of starvation in Western Africa, and even more so in the Sudan and South Sudan, in Darfur, areas like that that are constantly in need of extra food sources. Another sip of water. My YouTube watchers can see me taking a sip of water out of this work Petaluma glass cup, I guess you could call it. All right. Good hero news. Dr. Peter Hotez. You see him all the time on, or more so since 2020 with the COVID-19 outbreak. He was the go-to guy. Dr. Peter Hotez is a professor of pediatrics and molecular virology at Baylor University College of Medicine in Houston, Texas. He helped develop 2 COVID-19 vaccines given more than 100 million times in India and Indonesia. He wrote a book, The Deadly Rise of Anti-Science. Hello, Republicans. And there's a colon after anti-science. A scientist's warning. Okay, he is in the Time 100 most influential medical people. And he's been threatened with the MAGA heads, against he and his family, just like those creeps do when they disagree with somebody or doesn't toe the line of the orange sociopathic bloat bag. they have emailed him threats, and I think he has required security guards at his office in the Baylor College of Medicine and maybe at his home. I will look that up for next week's show. But anybody who is a right-thinking scientist who is rational is can be threatened by MAGA heads. And Robert F. Kennedy Jr., that idiot who's running for president, is one of the anti-vaxxer deniers. Anti-vaxxers, I mean. And he has called Dr. Peter Hotez the OG, the original gangster, meaning Robert Kennedy Jr. is an anti-vaxxer, a very dangerous guy. And hopefully he'll drop out so he won't siphon off too many votes from Joe Biden. Okay. Enough of that. Bad pollution news. The 5 worst plastics polluters. Number 1, who might you think? Well, it's the Coca-Cola Company. 11% of all plastic waste, mainly single-use bottles, they're responsible for. In second place, PepsiCo. They have 5% of the plastic waste. Again, mainly single-use bottles. Nestle, 3%. Danone, and I'm not quite sure what Danone makes. Bottled water? Anyway, 3% they're responsible for. And Altria, which is a holding company for, among other things, the Philip Morris Tobacco Company. I'm not sure what Altria makes or sponsors to get them on this list, but they're bad enough anyway because Philip Morris, the cigarette people, are underneath their umbrella. We need in this country a polluter pays system. Producers would include the cost of their packaging, plastic or otherwise, and would include the cost of their packaging in the wholesale price that they sell to mom and pop stores. Okay? And of course, the plastics industry, the oil and gas industries would sick their lobbyists on Republicans and try to get them to kill any bills that would make for a polluter pays type legislation. Okay, bad news from Kentucky. Again? Okay, if Senator Mitch McConnell dies or resigns before his term ends in 2026, the governor must replace him with a Republican. That's a law in Kentucky. Even though Governor Andy Beshear would probably challenge the constitutionality of the law if McConnell does die or resign. Beshear is a Democrat, and he actually is very popular in Kentucky. And he vetoed this bill, but the Kentucky legislature, which is controlled by Republicans, and MAGA heads, they overrode his veto. All right, bad news. The real dividing line between states where abortion is banned and other more more rational. I misread my notes at first, and it looked like national, but it's rational states. Is the percentage of white Christian nationalists, black and Hispanic hardcore Christians, and there are some, are less inclined to favor outlawing all abortions. How has hardcore Christian fundamentalism taken over in states that are now GOP controlled states? Well, my thesis, the thesis of the Midnight Skeptic. I need another sip of water. Maybe water is the key to brain freezes. I don't know, but I'm giving it a try. Okay, we're talking about the dividing line. And where do all these white Christian nationalists, fundamentalists come from that's taken over what are now GOP-controlled states? Okay. The thesis of the Midnight Skeptic is the less educated the people are in certain areas, the more that grifter pastors see an opening to make money from the flock. The more gullible the flock is, the more they won't question what their pastors tell them, or what GOP politicians promise them. Hello, orange sociopathic bloat bag. That's one reason Republicans are trying to get rid of public schools. Ban books that they claim indoctrinate and not educate, and try to insert Christianity into school curriculums. Sneaky Christians are forever fighting God's war against human intelligence and education. Christians are in it for the long haul, bringing more souls to Christ is their goal. And like I say, they're in it for the long haul. Their worldview is that eventually Jesus will return and there will be another brain freeze, where everybody ascends to heaven, and the rapture, that's what's going to happen. And I ran across a belief, this is online, of a group of Christians that believe that there's a limited number of people that will be raptured. And it was not that large of a number, like 144 people or some magical number like that. And the rest of the, non-sinners will be ensconced in a sort of a limbo, but not everybody's going to get raptured. Oh, geez. I don't know what sect or weird denomination of Christianity believes that. I'll have to look that up again before next week's show because I've got to clarify that. I'm not sure about it. Okay. Anyway, the Republican Party, taking their hints from Christian nationalists, are trying to get Christianity into schools and to even better, do away with public education and make every school a Christian school. And of course, fire all the non-Christian teachers. Okay, that's enough of my riff on that topic. Good news. And I have 3 of them. Not 1, not 2, but 3. Good news items to end this week's show with. And I'm going to run out of things to talk about. And right now it's 36 minutes. All right. Good news. The United Methodists end their ban on gay clergy. It's about time. The United Methodist Church is the second largest Protestant denomination in the United States. The largest is the Southern Baptist Convention, along with their troubles that they're having now and for the last couple of years with their sexual abuse, almost as bad as the Catholic Church. Okay, the Southern Baptist Convention is the largest, and there's 5.4 million Methodists in the United States, and their numbers are rapidly declining for 2 reasons. Well, people are just not buying the BS that religion is throwing at them. And secondly, there's a lot of strife within the Methodist Church, and some churches are leaving the Methodist Church to for more conservative reasons. In other words, the gay haters are forming their own, I don't know, denomination. I don't know. They can call it We Hate Fags Methodist Church if they want to call it something. You have my permission. Okay, good news. Proposals are afoot to force food manufacturers to stop labeling foods as healthy if there is significant added sugar. And I'm not sure how much they consider to be significant. But 74% of packaged foods in the United States have added sugars. Sugar is biologically addictive, 8 times more than cocaine. Excess sugar can lead to a number of health issues, not just diabetes, although that's probably one of the worst results of eating too much added sugar, or too many donuts, or too many candy bars, or whatever. Okay. Good news from Pierre, South Dakota. Pierre's the capital. PAWS, Animal Rescue. I'm not sure what PAWS actually stands for, but they're an animal rescue organization. And this is a quote that they put out online. Quote, in all our years in animal rescue, and the thousands of animals that have come through our door, we have yet to meet a dog that was so untrainable that it deserved to be shot to death. Governor Kristi Noem of South Dakota, are you listening to their quote? Are you listening to me? I hope you are, but that's exactly what she did. Okay. Let's see. I got to look up my sound effects. Yeah, that's the Kristi Noem sound effect. I've got to remember my sound effects here. My audio technician and computer guy set them all up for me, and I've kind of not used them in a long time. But anyway, Kristi Noem, please don't shoot any more dogs or goats or stray cats or anything like that. Don't shoot dogs, Kristi. Okay, here's the other sound effect. No, that wouldn't be right for Kristi Noem. So what I'll do now is, I'm early. It's only been 41 minutes, but KPCALP 103.3 FM will just have to kind of listen, just kind of live with the shortened broadcast. I'll do better next week. And I will be back with you next week with more good news, more bad news, more Republican bashing. And I no longer have a cat to pet, but that doesn't mean that cat owners out there shouldn't pet their cats. Please do that. It's a very calming way to get your anxiety out of your system. The way I get my anxiety out of my system is this, what I'm doing right now. Okay? So, play out music. You have been listening to The Midnight Skeptic on KPCA LP, Petaluma, California, and we're at 103.3 on the FM dial and worldwide at www.kpca.fm. Support community radio at patreon.com/Petaluma Community Access. And remember, think critically, think logically, but live joyously, and most importantly, pet your cats. It's very important to think critically, think logically, think scientifically, and you will not ever have to worry about becoming a Republican or a follower of the orange sociopathic bloat bag. Okay? Until next week, this is the Midnight Skeptic signing off.